Welcome to the fourth IndieRef Weekly Review, bringing you a roundup of news you maybe missed every week until the Scottish independence referendum in September. This week, the No Camp continued to shut down the debate, Wales send their support, and what went wrong at Prestwick Airport. But first, this week, the three pro-union parties have guaranteed more powers to be devolved to Scotland if we all vote no. Joanne Lamont, Willie Rennie and Ruth Davidson spoke to journalists this week on Calton Hill in Edinburgh while standing on the aptly named Edinburgh's Folly, promising to devolve more powers to Scotland after the next general election in 2015. But you won't find out what those powers really are until then, and you won't really get them unless you vote for one of their parties. See, polls conducted back in 2012 showed that maximum devolution was the most popular option between that, nothing changing, and going independent. It's for that very reason that Westminster blocked it from being an option in the referendum later this year in the first place, because they knew that if they offered more powers, we'd take them, and they didn't want that. The fact that more powers are being offered now only shows how panicked the pro-union parties are becoming the closer we get to September, with support for yes amongst Labour voters expanding rapidly. Earlier this month, Anam Quasar, General Secretary of the Muslim Friends of Labour group and former aide to Scottish Labour Deputy Leader Anna Sarwar, announced that she would be supporting a yes vote and that UK Labour had turned toxic. Not surprising, since Ed Miliband this week has announced plans to cut job seekers' allowance for folk under the age of 22. This week also saw the Scottish and UK governments agree on the definition of what would happen after September. It's interesting to note that this outline of what would happen after either a yes or a no vote never mentions anything to do with the extra powers that the three pro-unionist parties are guaranteeing. Instead, it mentions only that changes to powers in Scotland would be decided by Westminster. So, no actual guarantees of extra powers at all. If Westminster blocked the option of devolve max in the first place, why would they follow through and give us more powers if we vote no, when nothing legally says they have to? Recent polls showed that only a third of Scots even believe that more powers will be given to us in the event of a no vote. But getting no extra powers may not even be the worst thing to happen. Earlier this week, Gordon Brown came out and stated that the Scottish education system should be brought under the control of Westminster. Believe it or not, he made this statement in the same month that a report from the Office for National Statistics showed that Scotland was the best educated country in Europe. Yet, he wants to integrate us into the Westminster system that recently saw Michael Gove, Secretary of State for Education, ban any books not written in Britain from the approved school reading lists, including Of Mice and Men and To Kill a Mockingbird. We may actually lose powers after a no vote. These developments have led many to state that the decision now is between getting all the powers or maybe getting some of the unspecified powers at an unspecified time in the future. Don't hate the media, become the media. Now, this is a phrase that I've been using for a while now, and it's only becoming more and more relevant. On Saturday the 21st of June, 50,000 people marched in London to protest the Tory government's austerity cuts. There were speeches from Russell Brand and Mark Steele, with the march travelling from outside of the BBC Broadcasting Centre to finishing outside of Parliament. And the BBC did not report it. Not until late into the next day anyway, after thousands of complaints, when they finally dedicated 24 seconds and 3 sentences to the entire event. It is becoming clearer every day that BBC News has become the mouthpiece of the Tory government. One of the reasons another protest is taking place outside of the BBC Scotland building later this month, links below. Now, a recent article from the Scottish Sunday Express has claimed that even if the BBC were being unbiased, they shouldn't be, in the same way that the BBC was biased against the Nazis. Yes, the Express just referred to all Yes supporters as Nazis. Again. Another smear to discredit the Yes camp. You see, the fact is, the No camp are shutting down the debate. This may be because every debate result I've seen online always finishes with more Yes supporters than before. This is why there are reports from as far back as February of some schools blocking access to the Yes Scotland website, but not the Better Together website, or why some schools are only inviting speakers from the Better Together campaign. It's the reason that one Labour-run council is considering banning all political campaign posters from lampposts in the run-up to September. It's the reason that Mike Daly, Labour social justice campaigner, is threatening to create a blacklist of everyone following Wings Over Scotland online, because we gain ground with every week that passes when we are heard, so they're trying to silence us. For those who haven't checked out Wings Over Scotland, it is a great resource for news and an excellent example of citizen journalism at its best. Links below. Now, the UK government has just been accused of releasing over £140,000 worth of polling research to Better Together campaign that Yes Scotland and the public don't have access to. The debate is being smothered by the powers that be as the threat to their power becomes more and more focused. We need to be vocal, we need to be active, we need to become the media. So get out there and share the message that independence is our chance to build a great future for Scotland, and that we can do it before the debate is completely shut down. It's perhaps because of this constant stream of smear and lies that more and more active no campaigners are actually leaving and joining the Yes movement. I want to take a break from Project Fear this week and instead share a little hope. Wales for Yes have released a great video showing the level of support from Wales for Scotland's independence.
Number 2, please help my fellow Welshmen to realise that there is a viable alternative to the crappy status quo.
I can't recommend it enough. Links below to that. Please share it. And now on to the final section. It's the fact of the day. When Westminster government introduced the air passenger duty tax back in 2007, Prestwick Airport was one of the worst airports hit by it. Flying abroad became unaffordable for many families, and the airport saw a steady decline in passengers, dropping from 2.4 million prior to the tax to under 1 million afterwards, resulting in the airport running at a loss. It also cost the airport all of its direct routes to London. Now, the SNP and some Labour MPs have been fighting Westminster's tax hikes in the aviation industry for the last several years, and with an independent Scotland, the SNP will reduce the APD tax altogether. This isn't even a crazy idea. The move will actually bring us in line with the rest of Europe and see a huge boost in tourism and the number of airline routes available afterwards, as well as an increase in investment. It's one of the reasons much of the aviation industry is in support of independence, with British Airways boss Willie Walsh saying that Scottish independence would be a positive development for the industry. Scrapping the tax would increase the number of jobs at airports and open up Scotland to the rest of the world. But how did the BBC report this news? Newcastle Airport have concerns over Scottish independence vote, because they are worried that people will head north for the much cheaper and varied flights that we'll have. So when presented with the opportunity to boost tourism, open up a number of new jobs at airports and raise the profile of Scotland across the globe, the BBC managed to turn it into a negative story against independence. And adding to that, when David Cameron had the chance last week to scrap the tax, which Edinburgh Airport boss Gordon Dewar described as a fundamentally stupid tax, he rejected it. Still think we're better together? Thanks for listening. Links to everything I've spoken about are below. Please do share, like and subscribe. If any of you undecided or no voters do have questions, please send them over to indyrefcommunity@gmail.com. My first questions from the community video will be going out later this week, where I'll be looking at public attitudes towards Trident, so keep an eye out for that. I'll be bringing you your IndyRef weekly roundup every week from now until the referendum in September. I will see you all next week, and remember, don't hate the media, become the media.